Hi, I'm Aaron Davis. I'm discharged at private. To describe my service, a roller coaster of highs and very deep lows. I enlisted into the Australian Army on the 14th of September 2004. I originally enlisted as an electronic warfare operator. After a brief stay at Watsonia Barracks there, I went through all the clearance training and things like that, only to be told, no, you're not good enough. Sweet. I was happy with that because the chorus signals wasn't my thing. I was surrounded by infantry blokes, and they got into my ear and said, give infantry a go. And as soon as I put the transfer in to go through infantry training in 2006, I left for Singleton after 12 weeks at Singo, completed infantry training, then got posted to Brisbane to 6th Battalion of the Royal Australian Regiment. And the first day, on the 1st of August 2006, rocked into the guardhouse, to the guardhouse there, and they said, welcome along, your 1st Platoon Alpha Company. Congratulations, you're off to Timor in sometime soon. So that was an interesting conversation to have with the wife on the first day into the unit. 6 weeks later, we left, Alpha Company left for Timor on my wife's birthday, 21st birthday, or then girlfriend, now wife. So she was a little bit pissed about that, needless to say. 2006 rolled through really quickly. Before you know it's the end of our trip for Timor, March 2007. During that stay in Timor, it was chaos, absolute chaos. We were told it's going to be pretty cruisy. It was anything but. We were chasing the rebel leader around the countryside. So we got into not firefights, but scraps with the local gangs and things like that, but also chasing the rebel leader with all of his cronies, and just to see if we could catch him. Finish up that trip, get home in March, only to be told, December, you're off to Iraq. So from March through to December, training, get ready, and on the 4th of December, we left for Iraq for 6 months. In that time, before leaving for Iraq, I got married, and also to find out that we were having our first child. So again, it was pretty quick. Iraq rolls through. Not much to tell about that one other than rolling around in vehicles. But at the end of the trip, I left to go home early in May. I got home just in time for my daughter's birth, 3 days before she was actually born. So you hear all the horror stories of you miss the birth, you miss everything, but I got pretty lucky and got home 3 days prior to, which was good. Around about that same time, one of the platoon members, Liam Haven, got hit with an IED, and now if you know Liam Haven, he's blind, but he's doing all right for himself. He's all right. After Iraq, normal battalion life, training exercises and things like that. To be told, 2010, you're off to Afghanistan. So by that stage, we've got quite a few new members in the battalion, so support courses and things like that were happening. So it was pretty intense timing. Also managed to squeeze in a second child in that period after Iraq and before deploying to Afghan. On the 26th of January 2010, we deployed to Afghan on MTF-1 for supposed to be 8 months, but we didn't get home until October. Afghan was tough. It was tough. A lot of stories out there, but the ones that hit home the most, all the boys that we lost from 6th Battalion. So Nathan Buse, Grant Kirby, Thomas Dale, Crash McKinney, All tough times. But at the same time, being surrounded by, don't know who the enemy is, but you'll find out soon when they start shooting at you or start blowing you up. Quite a few close calls in there. So it was good to see the back end of that trip. It was really good. There's a few photos at home that convey on how much relief it was to be home side with my wife and then 2 kids. After 2010, not a lot was happening for the battalion because it had been a high tempo period for us. Smaller parts of the battalion were getting farmed out to do more trips to Afghanistan and things like that. I wasn't earmarked to go anywhere, so I did some more courses and things like that to keep ourselves busy, but at the same time I was slowly going downhill. My 3rd child, Amelia, got sick with a staph infection and that was the start of a pretty fast downturn. Then in 2012 I cracked it and started the medical discharge path, and July 8, 2013 I'm medically discharged from defence. So highs and lows, a few lows but a lot of highs, so it was good service. Initially it was after operations to any one of them, Timor, Iraq or Afghan, to turn around and switch off that operational side and to try and fit back into what's happening out there. It's just hard to do. My first encounter of trying to switch off, it just wasn't happening, was when I got back from Timor. Wife took me down to Brookside Shopping Centre. I lasted 10 minutes. I couldn't be there because the head was just doing some weird things as if I was still in Timor, just looking at people, scanning, threat analysis, making sure that anyone's walking towards me, they're not going to be an issue. That's when she started recognising that there's a problem. I didn't believe it. I chose not to believe it, only because I wanted to stay operational. Over the trips, it got progressively worse, but at the same time, again, I chose not to. I did seek a little bit of help, but not a lot. It was more of a case of, yeah, you got anger issues, move on. We all accepted it. We're infantry, of course we're going to be angry. We're alpha males. We're trained to fight, we're going to do it. And we're more than happy to fight. It's just when we're told that you can't do certain things here in Australia, but we've done certain things overseas and it's saved our lives, to be told, no, that's wrong, doesn't sit well. So the transition after operation was tough, but you generally get on top of it and put your mask on to say you're okay. Transition to civilian life, I haven't done it yet. Where do I fit? I've got no idea. So I'm still figuring that out day to day, but I've been able to make small steps, but still very much military up here. The immediate challenges, not being from Melbourne after discharge, I asked my wife, where do you want to live? Being from Newcastle, I was not going to return to Newcastle because long term there's not a lot there. Nice place, good surf beaches, but there's got to be more to it. So she comes up with, all right, let's move to Melbourne. Melbourne, great, wow. Melbourne has grown on me. It really has grown on me. At the same time, why does it have to be so damn cold? It reminds me of all the injuries that I've sustained over the years. So the first step was to get into the gym and try and work out these injuries. Get a good physio, help me get through those injuries. Get a good doctor, any of the doctors, to help sort out my health issues, both mentally and physically. I think I'm making progress. Long term, what I've do is, within my community, I've joined the CFA to help know what's going on in the community, but also try and give myself that sense of camaraderie again. It's not going to be the same as military, but only the military can provide that military style of camaraderie. This is close, but it helps filling that sense of purpose of giving back to the community, and I shouldn't say society, but giving back again. After a few years in the military, you always want to give something more than yourself. So I found CFA, that side it's hitting that mark, but it's not there. So, and I still reach out to local veterans, see how they're doing. Veterans Motorcycle Club, always good too. It's tri-service, and we're used to hanging shit on each other. So, and that's always a good thing. But to be in amongst like-minded individuals again, it's always good. So immediate, day-to-day type stuff, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Long term, we'll see how many steps you take between then and the next step. The first indicators of there's something wrong was when my daughter asked me, "Why don't you love me anymore?" That hit home. So that's where it came to the point of get help. So the medical side was always there, so use it. Just use it. So then from that point, after discharge, I was lost. And I had to get paperwork through for DVA to acknowledge some more of these injuries. And I tried to put in all the paperwork myself. Just stonewalls all over the place. Just couldn't do it. And it got dark. I couldn't do it. So I reached out to the RSL to get some assistance, and they were pretty responsive to it. They put me in touch with a good advocate. And once I got a hold of that advocate to get on top of things, that ball really got rolling. So I end up with the gold card and assistance. When it went from, for TPD payments, so from payments from DVA, went from 100% down to 75%, that's when the financial strain really started happening. And the advocate turned around and said, "How much trouble are you in?" At that stage, we were just going, "No, we're fine. We're fine," because we just bought a house, and a lot of our money went into the house to tidy it up, and because the previous owner let it lapse a little bit. So the advocate turned around and said, "Look, let me have a chat to someone," and put us in touch with Anzac House. When we started explaining as to what's been happening on the financial side, they were just wondering how we're making ends meet. There have been a couple of times that my wife and I didn't eat at night, so the kids could eat. So we just go, "No, that's fine. That's what parents do." Because I'd heard the same sort of stories from my parents and my grandparents. So you just go, "Oh, that's a standard thing." And when we told them as to what was going on, they said, "No, that's unacceptable. You should be getting looked after." So with Anzac House, they paid some of our bills, home loan, regos on the car, and get some sort of normalcy back into our life. With the other ESOs outside of RSL, I haven't had a lot to do with because I don't feel connected with them. The more modern ones, again, I know a few mates that are in them. Again, I just don't feel connected. RSL, don't feel connected. Yes, they've helped me, but there's too much of a cloud hanging over the RSL with impersonators, poker machines, things like that. Don't feel connected. So there are positives from what I've dealt with, but at the same time, again, there's a lack of connection. So it's a tough one, because when it feels like that any time you try and connect with any of the ESOs and CEOs appointed, it's a business. It's not a community anymore. So on discharge, especially during the transition phase, other than the fact that naming what organisations are out there and giving the standard answers of we can help, that's great. What can you help with? Who's the local representatives? How do I get in touch? Is it via email? Is it phone call? Are they going to respond? Knowing if I call any one of these groups, is someone going to return that call? Or is it going to be a case of I send an email and nothing from it? And that puts you in a bit of a tailspin. Whether if you slip through the cracks, which I've done many, many times, of slipping through the cracks. It comes down to how can it be improved is, I think, not so much flooding it, because then it just kills it. Then it becomes a business. So it's a tough one. How you can improve it, but just making, especially on the transition phase, that there is help out there other than getting to rock bottom and trying to figure it out from there. Because if you've hit rock bottom, yeah, you can't fall any further. But if there was something else available before hitting that, I could have saved a few guys over the years. We've got a story to tell. We've got multiple platforms we can use. Previous generations haven't spoken about it, other than what's in history books and the old black and white films and things like that. Even as something as recent as Vietnam blokes, they're all talking amongst themselves, but they're still talking. But the boys, the older generations, they don't talk. I don't understand why. Some just bottle it up, say nothing. Whereas myself and many of my kind, any platform we can use, we should start using it. It raises awareness as to what is going on. When all these older blokes came home, they're all about my age, between 22 and 30, a little bit older, give or take a bit. The changing face of veterans, it's always going to be a continuous cycle. We've all got a story to tell, regardless of what your service did. You don't have to make it up. It's all interesting. After being told I should come and tell my story, I don't see my story being that interesting, but wife got into me and told me, no, say it. Definitely say it. Because it needs to be told. If people don't know, they're never going to ask, other than during the 2 times a year, Anzac Day and Remembrance Day. Veterans deal with it every day. So let people know what you're dealing with.